So very good evening to all of you and welcome back to our today's second session on sensorial education. So in the previous class, we learned about the introduction and the usage of the sensory materials in our classes. We understood them right from the moment that the child is born, the world is experienced through our senses, right? We learned about the five senses: sense of touch, sense of sight, seeing, sense of hearing, the auditory sense of smell, that's our olfactory, and the sense of taste, that is gustatory. So these were the five senses that we all learned it from our childhood. Even Dr. Montessori was also believing in all these senses, and she said the entire Montessori
The
education
books.
principles are based on the sense
Paper, ma'am.
foundation. Okay, so this becomes the foundation of any Montessori lessons. Keeping the sensory learning into picture, this entire module of sensory learning is being made, correct? So why? Because we always believe nothing comes to our mind except the senses, right? So senses do act like our safety measures. Like say, suppose in case if I'm walking on a street and when there is a vehicle which is coming behind me also, I can sense it, I can hear. And my senses would alert me so that I am kept safe. If I'm going near fire, I know that I will be hurt. I might get burnt, right? My senses would alert me and it can keep me safe. So this is what we have always believed. So senses are very, very essential for us. So that's the reason we always say we need to take care of our sense organs and we need to cultivate methods which will sharpen the child's sensory perceptions. So that's the reason right from the child is born until the child is like, between 2.5 to 6 years of age, we always give them lot of sensory motor education. What is sensory motor education? You ask them to play in the fields, you ask them to walk barefoot, you ask them to feel the grass, you ask them to touch certain materials, right? So every time that the child is holding any of the material in their hands and they're learning something, there are couple of things which can actually get refined. The child is seeing something, that's the first sense, so the colors of that objects. Second is like they're holding, they're touching something, so they learn about the textures, right? So child will be able to work on a lot more things, maybe the temperatures, maybe the weight of that particular object, and so on. So Dr. Montessori, what she felt was like, okay, I have to now make certain materials which will help my 2.5 to 6 years of age to classify, to compare, and to organize sensory impressions. So that's the reason she designed the sensory material so carefully. Now, to list all the 9 senses, what are the 9 senses? The visual sense, that's a sense of sight with the help of our eyes. The second one is auditory, the sense of hearing. We hear with our ears. Olfactory, the sense of smell. We smell with our nose. Gustatory, the sense of taste. We taste with our tongue. Tactile, sense of touch. The skin is helping us to touch. When I'm touching something, I'm experiencing temperature. That's my thermic sense. When I'm lifting something, I'm experiencing the weight. That is my baric sense, right? When I'm touching and there is a movement and I'm recognizing without seeing, that's my stereognostic sense. And I'm seeing so many colors. That is related to my chromic sense or the chromatic sense. When I'm involving my muscles and I'm moving around, that is kinesthetic, right? So that is tactile sense. Sorry, not tactile. That is the kinesthetic sense that I have. So children, when they are given exercises, when you give materials for them, you develop certain activities for them, and you want your children to actively engage with these materials, that will become a purposeful activity. Now you all got? So that's the reason we classify each of the material into a particular sense. Now, if you see here, the material that we are going to learn is pink tower, correct? So pink tower comes under what? It's a visual sense material. So this is the second one or the third material that we are learning. The first one we learned was cylinder blocks, knobbed cylinders. Second, we learned knobless cylinders. And today we are going to learn pink tower. That's our one of the very hit material, I could say. So no matter which material, there are certain common advantages of why we have to use sensory education. No matter you have materials, you don't have materials, that's a different thing. You have to give any object for a child. These are called hands-on exercises. You don't have pink tower, it's okay. You can bring any other thing to help the child learn sizes. If you don't have touch boards, if you don't have any material of Montessori to introduce roughness and smoothness, you can bring a fabric and you can ask the child to experience, is the fabric smooth or is the fabric rough? Is the stone pebble smooth or is it rough or is it granular? You can help the child to refine the discrimination, whether it is smooth, whether it is rough, whether it is heavy, whether it is light. So what exactly matters for all of us is, when you are preparing exercises for your children, is your child able to concentrate on that learning? Is the child able to logically think? Is it long? Is it short? Is it near? Is it far? That's logical thinking, which becomes our pre-mathematical essentials. The next thing, you can note it down. So, logical thinking is essential. Pre-mathematical skills are helping the children to work on it. And we are helping the child to refine discrimination of what is the content that we are trying to teach. Correct? Now, what is the next thing that I'm trying to help with all these sensory exercises? Vocabulary. When the teacher is speaking, she's speaking with all her experience, right? And she's also naming those objects. Beta, this is big, this is small, this is long, this is short, this is near, this is far. You're trying to work, you're trying to name what you're trying to work. So that is helping me to improve my speech and vocabulary. Correct? Next, what happens is, it is, since it's one-to-one kind of an exercise, the child is doing it all by themselves. There is something called as emotional regulation. The child can sit calmly. The child can learn the material all by themselves. So we are trying to promote auto education. Correct? So we would use some of the classic Montessori materials like pink tower for sizes, knob cylinders for size discriminations and thickness, color tablets for colors and grading, sound cylinders for sounds, thermic tablets for temperatures, baric tablets for weights, touch boards for tactile sense, smelling bottles for olfactory sense, tasting bottles for gustatory sense of taste. Okay, those would be some of the standard materials. Now, what if you don't have the materials? You can take help of the internet source. You can prepare materials which will align with these parameters. Okay, so once the teacher gets the clarity, okay, this is how it is, you will guide the children to work on that. Now, what you would do when you give a material, you would guide them, you present the material, then you become the observer and you watch. Is the child able to do that? Or are there any signs of sensory sensitivity? Right? So you start becoming a director, you encourage the child. So the ultimate discovery is, you need to support repetition. Only when the child is repeating the exercises more often, they start to learn. Okay? So, Montessori materials or exercises is not only for schools. Even at home, you can educate the parents. When they're cooking, you can ask them, to compare the fruits, to compare the vegetables, to compare their weights, to identify the colors. Yeah, when they're doing some laundry, they can experience the textures of every fabric. Okay, so those things can be there. When they're going on a walk in a park, the child can listen to the sounds that is there. When they're walking on the beach, they can experience the sand. Or if it is on a park, if you're asking the child to walk barefoot, let them experience the feel and the texture of the grass. Let them touch the leaves, okay, where they can stack the stones. So even in kitchen, even in the outdoors, the sensory learning can be experienced. Okay. Only thing is, like, are we giving this kind of exercises for the students? We don't end here. People might also ask us, are there any assessments that you do? Assessments, can we grade assessments? We usually don't grade, correct? But we observe, we record. Can the child learn all these materials? Is he able to do every material with persistence, with concentration, with completion. They should complete the exercise also. Okay? Are they willing to repeat these exercises also? The child should be able to do that. If that you're able to do, you are a gifted educator. Okay? So you think, you decide you want to be a gifted educator who wants to give this awareness of all such materials to your children. It's not only that you make children to memorize the facts that children we see, we feel, we hear, we understand the world, but if you're ready to work with every student of yours using the sensory motor education, that means your child would learn all these learning for their lifetime. Okay, saying that, we step into our first material, and that's our pink tower. Please, everybody, note down, this is the next material that we're trying to learn, the pink tower. Look at the material itself. So these are cubes. Okay, you might say that these are simple ones, Divya ma'am. We all know about these cubes. Definitely, yes. 10 wooden cubes we have. Look at the color. All of them same color. Look at the sizes. They're varying, right? The smallest one that you see is 1 centimeter cube. On the top, you see here, the small cube. That's 1 centimeter cube. And the largest cube that you see on the down is the large cube. That is 10 centimeter cube. Okay, so what is 10 centimeter cube? If I'm trying to draw a cube like this, the length is also 10 centimeter. The breadth, this one is also 10 centimeter. And the height is also 10 centimeters. So it's 10 into 10 into 10. Okay, so 10 centimeter cube becomes the largest size of it. So if this is 10 centimeter cube, what is this one? 9 centimeter cube. This cube is 8 centimeter cube. This is 7 centimeter cube. This is 6 centimeter cube, so on. And the last one is 1 centimeter cube. So you all know the sizes of the wooden cubes also. We picked the pink cubes, which is of the same color, but the sizes would vary. So since the sizes are varying, what do we teach using this? We teach them about sizes. You should know on that. Now, the second thing is like you need to also educate the child how to hold the cube. Can I hold multiple cubes together? No, we don't hold multiple cubes together, right? So what am I supposed to do? So directors or the teacher would guide the children throughout this exercise to carry the cubes also. So you will show them where the cube is stacked, and you will begin by showing how to hold the smallest cube. So sometimes you can use one finger in case if your finger grip is really good enough, or you can use both your fingers. Okay, so both hands also, children can actually use it. So before the child has been introduced, as teachers, you should also pick the cube very carefully and encourage the child also to hold it with a proper pincer grip and then bring it to your mat. Clear, everyone? This is how you will start building. You will not bring all the cubes. One by one is what you will build. Then you would walk slowly, purposefully, carrying one cube at a time. See, that's the reason I have marked it in red color. Very slowly you will carry it. One by one is what you will carry. So there's no hurry. So every movement that you're going to the shelf, bringing back, it will show you that you are doing it with an intention. What is the intention? Trying to carry the cube carefully, one at a time, helping the child to slow down the pace, helping the child to walk carefully without dropping the cube down. What is your child learning here? He's trying to learn to be careful. Okay, respecting the material. So these lines are very, very essential, which also gives you a mark. When we do an observation in the examination, we also see how are you carrying the cubes, one at a time. Now, as and when the cubes are becoming of a bigger sizes, you would use both your hands. We don't take the cube this way. Okay, you don't take the cube this way vertically. You have to put your one palm down and the other one on the top, and you carry it this way. So what happens here, when you're using both your hands, you're trying to, safeguard the material. There is a less possibility of you dropping it down. But when you're holding it this way, there could be a possibility of the cube slipping from your hands and it can fall down, right? So that's the reason you put it this way. So when you're holding it this way, it is trying to, or it is helping me to build my bilateral coordination using both the hands together with precision, with respect for the material. So there is less scope of dropping the material. Okay, so children do not rush. They have a lot of control on their movements. They have a lot of care when they're trying to carry the material. Okay, especially the bigger cubes. We have to use two hands. So right from the sixth cube onwards, you try to initiate that the child will have to use both their hands. Clear, everyone? So this is how it is. Now say suppose you have carried all of them onto the mat. This is a repetition process. You carried everything. So what happened there? There was no distraction. The child was doing it with purpose. Now, what did you notice over here is like something is common. What was common for me? The color is common and the color is pink. What is differing for me is the size of the cubes, correct? The size is varying. So now is what we are interested to arrange all these cubes from largest to smallest or from smallest to largest. So you are in a process to arrange everything. Randomly, you placed everything. So now what does the teacher do? The teacher will always be little graceful when she's trying to present. She doesn't speak much. She wants the children to observe. When you talk, children look at you. But when you do, children look at what is my teacher trying to do. So the teacher will start putting these cubes in sequence, absorbing every movement. And the child is also looking at her. The child starts to imitate the teacher. Now the teacher gives the child a turn. The child also starts to stack the cubes attentively. But is it at the first time the child is able to do it? Yes, they might do it. We as adults might think these exercises are very, very simple. But when you give it to a 2-year or a 2.5-year-old child, it might not be that simple for them because they are still in the learning phase of identifying, discriminating, arranging everything through a proper size measurement. Correct? Even that muscle memory should have got it done. The child should have been able to differentiate, oh, this is big, so I have to keep it at the first. This is small, so maybe I have to put it towards the later, right? So that decision-making ability, the child will not get it at the beginning. So only through periodic repetitions, the child will learn that order of arrangement. So this needs a lot of patience. So teachers, you should also know that you have to be patient when you're teaching pink tower to the child. Even though it is very simple, not every child gets it at the first time itself. Okay. Keeping all of that, we have come to a conclusion. Yes, all my students are able to stack the cubes. They have understood the discrimination. They have gone through the good hand-eye coordination. Everything is so perfect. Now, what am I trying to work on it? I'm trying to help the children to arrange everything in horizontal way. We constructed the tower. Now we are putting everything horizontally and we are asking the children to arrange the cubes from largest to smallest or smallest to largest. Okay, so that's the second step that we're going to do. Now, when I'm having a little older children, maybe like 3.5 or 4 years of age, I can teach them about my sizes. The child can bring the ruler to the class and we can help them measure. I take out any cube and ask them to measure. See, measure it. It's 10 centimeter, height is 10 centimeter, length is 10 centimeter, breadth is 10 centimeter. You can help the child to work on the sizes by measurement. See, that becomes easy for the child. Now they are developing a geometrical conceptual over here, right? So not only they were able to discriminate the size differentiations through visual learning, but also the child was able to measure the cube sizes. That was the educational purpose towards the end. Not only stacking the tower, but also we helping the child to understand. But where can the child go wrong? Even though we have done multiple times, there could be errors. Correct? So this is the built up tower. Did you notice that there is an uneven stack? It looks like the child has not done it properly. So when the child sees it also, the child will also feel, yes, I have not built the tower correctly. There is a scope for correction. And then the child will rearrange all the blocks one more time and they start rebuilding. So that's the reason these materials will have a built-in error of control. The child would learn it by themselves. Okay, so they complete the exercise and we wait for it. So what did we teach? Pink tower, holding a cube itself is a meaningful experience for a child, right? So there is a great saying, you see, what does it say? You see this tiny cube, watch it. Okay, so just don't consider as a cube. Give it for the children. Let them watch. Okay, because it's a great temptation for the children and it does disappear. That's what Dr. Montessori says. The first time when you give anything, no, that experience is totally different. Multiple times, they wouldn't be that curious. So whenever you give any material for the first time, give them, let them watch, let them see. Let them explore that material. Give that extra 2 minutes, 3 minutes for every child. And what's more important? The words that you use, the language that you teach. You can teach them, this is big, this is bigger, this is small, this is smaller, this is biggest, this is smallest. So what is big and bigger? What is big and small? My big and small is my positive degree. My bigger and smaller is my comparative degree. My biggest and smallest is my superlative degree. So you can introduce all these three. So whenever there is a possibility of grading, okay, I'll show you in the next slide how we do grading. But considering the vocabulary, these are the ones that you're going to be introducing. Then the next language that we have to be using is cube. That this is cube. We're building a tower. Let's arrange in order. What is the size of this cube? One at a time, children. One at a time, we're going to build. Let's build from top to bottom. Or sorry, let's observe from top to bottom. What is the base cube? What is the size of the base cube? What is the height of this particular cube? These should be your vocabulary introduced. So this is a very important slide. You can take a screenshot of it. So when you introduce Pink Tower, these should be included in your language section. Okay. So this has to be included in your language section. Is everybody there? I can see. Yeah, I can see all of you. Yeah, all 19 only. So 2 are absent. So who are the absentees? I'll take a count later. Okay. So this is one of the powerful slides, I could say. The language, the entire exercise depends on this slide wherein we introduce the vocabulary to children. Now take a look. What do you introduce? How do you introduce? As I was talking before also, any material that you introduce has to be with 3 period. So in your exam also, you can say introduce Pink Tower with the help of a 3 period lesson. And how do you do that? You explained all of that. You constructed the tower. You arranged it in horizontal way and you showed them from largest to smallest. Now using 3 period lesson, randomly you take any 2 cubes and you say this is big, this is small. You have to touch it. That's your first naming period. The next one is like, recognition. You can have multiple cubes that you would have actually got it, right? And you can ask them, can you show me which is the biggest one? Can you show me which one is small? Can you show me the big one? Can you show me where is the smallest cube? Okay, so these would be the 6 variations that you can do. So I have put everything collectively. You should be able to recognize, or the child should be able to recognize. And the last period is a recall. You are trying to verify it. What is this? What is that? When you ask, the child should be able to say that this is bigger cube, this is smaller cube, this is big cube, this is small cube. Okay, so that is what is with your Pink Tower. So what was the principle of learning this? Anytime that you want to introduce Pink Tower, keep your presentation very simple. This is what I wanted to tell you. Because this is one of the fundamental material in your class. Your instructions has to be simple. Your instructions has to be clear. And at the same time, it has to be direct. Don't talk too much to a toddler. Okay, or to a 3-year-old. They will start going out of focus. Okay, and always do your vocabulary related to that age. Speak slowly, clearly, use minimal words. Okay, so when you're touching, only then you speak. This is 1 centimeter. When the child is lifting, okay, you're lifting the cube. This, what are we seeing? This is a 3 centimeter cube. What are we doing? We are stacking. Okay, try to use words which we use it in our day-to-day language. Okay, so don't make it too complex also for them. So the instructions in your book is little complex. So when you try to explain it in that language, the children will not understand it. We don't need. Those are the guidelines, AMI guidelines for the teachers to follow. How to touch, how to hold, how to lift, how to place. Those are the instructions for the teachers. But with children, always minimal instructions should be there. That covers our pink tower. All right? Okay. So let's go to the next exercise. Before going to the next exercise, if you have any clarification on pink tower, you can ask me. So we are good to go, right? Is everybody okay with pink tower? All right. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So let's go to the next one. That's
Yes,
called
ma'am.
brown stairs. Please note down the next exercise we have is brown stairs. All right. Okay, so this is our brown stairs. So brown stairs is again another visual sense material that we use in our
Ma'am,
classes. Yes.
ma'am, for pink towel in book they mentioned about dismantling also. So
Okay.
practically we need to explain that too for
Yes.
kid.
Yes. I'll come back
Uh,
to that. I'll come back to that too. Okay.
okay,
So
okay.
there are two exercises. Okay. So one is you build a tower. Okay. So if your book is telling about dismantling, now say suppose in case if this is your building, you built a tower, right? Now how do you dismantle it? Dismantling goes like you need to remove. From where do you start with? You always start dismantling from the top one. So this you put it down. Then you remove this. Then it comes down. Okay. So when you're dismantling, what happened? You did not place them randomly however you want, but you followed an order and precision. What was the order and precision that I would do for my dismantling? That it should be arranged in a particular way, from largest to smallest or smallest to largest. So it helps the child to dismantle. Now say suppose in case if the next child is doing immediately, since it's already dismantled, the child can easily start to construct the tower. So there are two steps over here. Construction of a tower and dismantling of a tower. Got it? Any other things that is mentioned in your book? Apart from this?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
That is what it is, right? So dismantling is basically however you construct it, you bring it down. Okay. So it will have, yeah. So if you notice, they would have given you another thing. Okay. How do you work on the exercises? Okay. I forgot to mention on the exercises. When there are exercises, the exercises are talking about grade from grade to the point. Is there in your book grade to the point? Is there anything which says like grade to the point, grade from midpoint, grade to the extreme? Can you see anything of that way from your book? It would be in
ma'am.
exercises
Yes,
or in
ma'am.
games.
Yes, ma'am.
Exercise
Yeah.
is also
So
there.
when
Yes.
there is something which talks about grade, okay, so it will all come under exercises. Now see, suppose in case if they say grade to point, okay, grade to point means it's nothing. You don't have to get worried about it. It is your first degree. That is my positive degree. So when I'm grading to the point, what am I trying to teach to the child? I'm going to teach only this concept. This is big, this is small. That's all. You bring a big cube, you bring a small cube, you tell them this is big, this is small. But when they tell you grade to the midpoint, this is my second degree. Okay, that's my comparative degree to the midpoint. You can write it there. So there is where you're going to be teaching that this is bigger and this is smaller. You will teach all these four: big, small, bigger, smaller. Clear? If they ask you, you have to grade to the extreme. That's your superlative degree.
Superlative.
Okay. So just third degree, superlative. So what is my next variation that I do? I do my biggest and I teach my smallest. So we would be picking all these things. So these would be your exercises. If they don't ask, you do all three. If they ask you, you take whatever has been asked for. Okay? And purpose, we always know. What is the purpose of it? Voluntary movements, the child should be able to place the cubes on one on top of the other. Okay? Finger muscles. So motor skills should be there. Child is able to concentrate better. Pre-mathematical concepts. So teaching big and small, bigger and smaller. Right? So pre-mathematical skills. Control of error, you know, when the child is not able to differentiate the sizes, the child can build however they want. And it is not lining with a proper tower. That's my error of control. Okay?
Ma'am, this is Gayatri here.
Yes.
Ma'am, in the 3-period lesson, first lesson itself, we have to explain all these positive, superlative, and comparative.
No, again, it depends on, if first period is always like naming. Say, suppose in case if you're introducing, there are levels. Now say level 1, for my 2-year, I'm teaching only big and small. So my first period, second period, third period will be restricted to my first degree. Now say, suppose if a child is 3.5 years who is able to do a little bit more on comparison. Then I take 4 cubes. Oh, this is big. This is bigger. This is small. This is smaller. If I'm able to get to that, then I do my second degree. But for my UKG children, they're smart enough. So you can do a third degree also. They're able to differentiate. Not only these, anything else you give them also, they should be able to grade it easily. So it depends on the level of the child's knowledge. You can go. A 3-year-old is able
And in
to...
the first period itself, right, Nama?
Yes, yes, you can do that.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
So we are good to go with this? All right. Okay.
Yes,
So the next material is our brown stairs. Now take a look at this. It's so good to see, but at the same time, this material is a little heavy. It's called brown stairs. And this is also a sensory material in our classes that we use to introduce a concept of thickness to the child. Okay. So it also has another name. We also call this as broad stairs. Okay. Why we call it as broad stairs? Because it's little broader. It's a very powerful tool, I could say, and at the same time, slightly heavier. It's a visual material. At the same time, it is a tactile material too. When you're lifting it, you will be able to understand the weights of it. Oh, it is too heavy. We are not only teaching the thickness and the width, mostly isolating. We are only teaching the thickness and the width, but the child should be able to feel it. This is really heavy. Okay. This is heavy and this is light. As you find the thin brown stair, you will find, okay, this is lighter. Okay, so this would be really thick and it would be heavy for the child. This is thick and really heavy. The last one is little thin and it is slightly lighter for the child to carry. So it has 2 names, brown stairs and broad stairs. Okay, so let's explore this material and how do we use it? Why do we use it? What is the purpose of doing it? Okay, so let's understand the material. Now, if you see the image, how many stairs are there? 10 stairs, correct? So it consists of 10 stairs, or I could say 10 wooden prisms. Why do I call prisms? Because it's rectangular in shape. That's why we call it as a prism. 10 wooden prisms are there. Look at the length of it. When I say the length, it is this part. The length of every rod is 20 centimeters. Even to the thinnest one, it is 20 centimeter in length. Okay, the length is constant. Now, what is varying for us is 2 parameters are varying. One is height and one is width. Look here. This is my width. Width is also different. Okay, so this is again 10 centimeter width. This is 9 centimeter. This will be 8 centimeter width. This is 7 centimeter. This is 6. Not only that, even this is varying for me. The height is also varying. Can you notice the height is also 9 centimeter here? Here the height is 8 centimeter. Here the height is 7 centimeter. So like that, my height and width are varying from 1 centimeter to 10 centimeter. But only the length is constant. Okay, only the length of this one is constant to 10 centimeter for me for all the cubes. Clear? Everyone with the
20
measurements?
mm.
Pardon?
It
Sorry,
is
20,
20 mm.
20. Sorry, 20. Okay, it is 20 centimeters. That's my length. So my height and width are varying for me. So once you understand these measurements and you look forward for the other learnings for this, you can do it either in centimeter or in millimeter. Depends on you, but we usually go on centimeters itself for children. The purpose of why you use this is to introduce a concept of thickness to the children. That's the primary concept. Monica, you're with me? Okay. So that's the primary concept for us. It's for thickness. What is the second thing? When I'm asking the child to carry my prism or my brown stair, the child needs a lot of strength also, muscle memory or muscular memory he needs. So when he is able to lift that, we are also helping him to develop the muscular memory. Look at it, he's able to differentiate the sizes when he's trying to put everything together. So it needs a lot of coordination also, right? Because the child is trying to compare between one prism to another one, and then he is arranging everything. So my grading becomes really good. So indirectly, this is also helping the child to work on my mathematical conception. Now, just like how we introduced in Pink Tower how to carry, the teacher should also be introducing how to hold and carry the material. This is the first thing. When you teach them to carry, to care for that material, to respect for the material, children will learn a lot. Okay, so that also becomes a part of their learning essentials of how exactly that the child should be holding the material and give respect for it. Now, coming to the next thing, why? Why should I ask the children to carry it this way only? Why can't I carry it that way? Because we generally have a lot of children who ask us a lot of questions this way, right? So as teachers, you have to know that every time that you introduce them in a very rightful way, it not only helps them to walk correctly and develop the motor skill, but at the same time, it is helping the child not to drop down, not to hurt himself, not to hurt their friends, not to damage the material itself, right? So indirectly, the child is trying to practice caring of that material, respecting that material. So this becomes as a mantra in our classes. Any material that they are actually taking it, it has to be held with care. So that is an awareness that you will teach them. That is called a tactile awareness. Any material that they take, they can't throw it. If you see any newcomer who comes, they take the material and they just throw it because the child at home is never introduced to this tactile awareness